The courtroom buzzed with whispers. Every bench was filled, the clock ticking too loudly. All eyes were on Daniel Brooks at the defendant's table, as if the room held its breath. Daniel sat straight in his old, oversized suit, not looking nervous. He scanned the room with a hint of a smile, hands folded neatly. Judge Langford entered, stern but not unkind. The tension remained. Everyone sensed this hearing would be unforgettable. From the start, Daniel broke courtroom rules. Instead of standing when addressed, he stayed seated. When asked his name, he replied, "I am the living man known as Daniel Brooks, not the legal entity." The courtroom reacted, some confused, others amused. Judge Langford, cool but firm, insisted he answer as the law demands. Daniel calmly repeated his phrase, testing the judge's patience. It was clear. Daniel wasn't just defending himself. He was challenging the system, and everyone was watching. Judge Langford was not new to difficult defendants. Still, Daniel's confidence rattled him. Each time the judge tried to assert control, Daniel deflected with questions. "Is this court operating under common law or admiralty law?" he asked. The judge, momentarily caught off guard, leaned forward. "This is a court of law, Mr. Brooks. Please answer the charges." A wave of laughter rolled through the courtroom at Daniel's next response. "I do not consent to these proceedings. I am a free man on the land." The judge's gavel came down hard, silencing the laughter. "Mr. Brooks, this is your final warning. One more interruption, and I will hold you in contempt." But Daniel didn't back down. He stared at the judge, unblinking. "With all due respect, Your Honor, I require proof of jurisdiction." The prosecutor sighed, rubbing his temples, while spectators whispered to each other. Even the bailiff looked unsure of what to do next. Each exchange was a push and pull. Daniel was clever, sidestepping every straightforward question, never letting the judge get fully comfortable. The tension grew, and no one could predict what would happen next. Then, Daniel did something unexpected. He stopped arguing and asked politely for clarification of the charges. The judge's stern face softened a bit, sensing perhaps a breakthrough. But Daniel's next question caught everyone off guard. "Has the court received my request for counsel?" A hush fell over the room. The judge looked to the clerk, who shook her head. The prosecutor checked his files, frowning. "There's no record of a request for a public defender," the prosecutor said, almost relieved to point out a flaw in Daniel's defense. Daniel smiled, just a little. He reached into his folder and pulled out a series of documents. "Here are copies of my written requests, sent multiple times." "I never received an answer." He handed them to the bailiff, who passed them to the judge. For the first time, Judge Langford looked uncertain. The audience shifted in their seats. What started as a strange performance was now revealing something deeper. The room grew silent, tension replaced with curiosity, and for some, concern. The judge examined the papers closely. Each one was stamped and dated, showing Daniel had asked for a public defender weeks ago. The prosecutor's confidence faded. He looked at the judge, uncertain. Judge Langford removed his glasses and sighed. Daniel's tone changed completely. Gone were the strange legal phrases. He spoke softly now, telling the court how he'd asked for help, how he didn't understand all the laws, and how scared he was to face court alone. The audience leaned in, their earlier amusement replaced by empathy. The prosecutor tried to recover. "Your Honor, this is highly unusual. We had no knowledge of these requests." The judge shook his head. That may be so, but the evidence is clear. Daniel sat quietly, hands folded, waiting. The power in the room had shifted. It became clear. Daniel's antics were not just for show. They were a way to buy time, to draw attention, to protect himself. The courtroom, once laughing at him, now watched in stunned silence. The judge cleared his throat. Mr. Brooks, it appears your rights have been violated. The court failed to provide you with counsel. The prosecutor tried to speak, but the judge cut him off. This is a serious error. I have no choice but to dismiss the charges. There was a moment when no one moved. The room, so tense and noisy before, was now as quiet as a grave. Daniel let out a slow breath. For the first time, his hands trembled. Some people in the gallery exchanged looks of disbelief, while others nodded in approval. The bailiff, usually stoic, gave Daniel a respectful nod. The judge looked tired, as if the weight of what had happened was settling on his shoulders. The prosecutor simply stared at his files, his face pale. For Daniel, the victory was bittersweet. He had exposed a flaw in the system, but at great personal cost. The lesson was clear for all. Sometimes those we laugh at are the ones who teach us most. As Daniel gathered his things, the judge asked one last question. Mr. Brooks, are you truly a sovereign citizen? Daniel smiled, softly this time, and shook his head. No, Your Honor. I just wanted someone to listen. The judge nodded, understanding more than he let on. The prosecutor finally looked at Daniel, a hint of respect in his eyes. The crowd slowly filed out, some whispering, others silent, all changed by what they'd seen. Daniel stood at the courthouse steps, breathing in the fresh air. He wasn't a hero, nor a villain. He was a man who refused to be ignored, using every tool he had, even confusion and laughter, to be heard. As the doors closed behind him, the words lingered in the air. Never underestimate the quiet ones. Sometimes, they're the only ones who know how to change the rules.
What's something people don't know about stories? They never truly end. There's always a new adventure waiting for you. Just pick your next tale and I'll meet you there. Subscribe to the Story Circle and let me know which story I should tell next in the comments.